Hey everybody, thanks for tuning back in to Super Guy KY. You know what? I heard everyone in the comments below. We are doing car stuff today. Alright, so this is my Duramax right here. Unfortunately, no work on the Duramax today. Today, this is our project. This is my wife's 2012 Civic, and we're doing a 100,000 mile service on it today. Super Guy Garage underway. This is everything we're going to be using. Now, don't worry about everything, all of my tools, all of the fluids, the part numbers. I'm going to explain everything, and I'm going to have everything in the description below of exactly what I'm using, where I got it, how much it costs, what I'm doing with it. Let's get started. Alright guys, step one. Got to get the vehicle off the ground. I have these special rubber wedges that I got from Quick Jacks, and they have this cut right in the middle, so it's a cross, right? Get that pinch weld right in the middle so you don't damage the body. Let's hop to it. Now that she's all jacked up, let's get the tires off. Now, hopefully you did what I did. You broke all the lug nuts. See how easy that is for me to turn? You break it, see? You break it with the breaker bar while it's still on the ground, okay? That way the nuts have nothing to resist against. Alright, let's get them off. Alright guys, we got the car all jacked up. We have all four corners on jack stands. All the tires are off. So if you're going to be underneath your vehicle in your driveway, a quick tip I would say is take one of your extra tires. Just leave it underneath in case it slips off the jack stand. We know what happened to Harbor Freight jack stands a couple years ago. Your health is not up to trusting $30 jack stand. If you're dealing with anything oil, take a good piece of cardboard and slide it under. That's a lot better than having concrete on your back. Alright, now we have our cardboard underneath. Let's go ahead and pop the hood. There's where my stick's gonna go. Now, I have to go down in here. That's the fill plug for the transmission. All this junk out of the way. Alright, when you take the car battery off, take the negative off first, then the positive. When you put it back on, you do reverse order. Positive, then negative. This is a 10mm right here. Don't worry, I'll clean all that battery acid up. Wiggle it off. Well, I finally got that off. I had to wiggle the living potatoes out of it. Look at all that battery acid. Don't worry, I'll clean that up before I put it back on. Let's take this one off now. Alrighty, that wasn't too bad now, was it? Okay, that terminal's off. This terminal's off. Alright, got the battery out, so now I can get to my fill plug really easily on the trans right there. So I'm just gonna pop that in. Now let's go underneath. Let's drain the transmission and the engine oil. Alright, so we gotta get this little shield off here. Alright, now that those four Phillip head are out, all you do, slide it, she comes right out. Alright, so right here is a 17mm. Drain the engine oil. Before that, let's change the filter, which is right here. Important to do this when the oil is not scalding hot, that it will burn your skin. So get your little oil filter wrench, 3/8 extension, make sure you're properly seated. Alright, now I've got to get this thing off, which is pretty tricky sometimes. Okay, now let's just slowly get this out and let it drip. There we go. Let it drip, let it drip, let it drip, let it drip, let it drip. Now don't worry, I'm not collecting the Blackstone off of here. I'm collecting it from the engine oil drain plug right here. I'm just letting this drain out before I switch the filter out. Nice and easy, nice and easy. There we go. As any good mechanic knows, you never put an oil filter on without lubing the O-ring. So some people are indifferent about this, but but I believe always used brand new good oil. So let's go ahead and open this up. Right here. Now, this next thing, I am a firm believer in. Do not pre-fill the oil filter. Do not pre-fill. Do not pre-fill. Caterpillar, in their manuals, it says, do not pre-fill the oil filter. So that machine surface, right inside there, I always clean it off with a paper towel. Just like that. You don't have to go crazy, but just a few dabs. Now, just screw the new one on. There we go. Alright. Different people have different opinions on this. Don't get it death tight. It's just an oil filter. Okay. Just a good snug. That's all you're looking for. Just a good snug. Alright everyone, right here is the engine oil drain plug. This is a 17 millimeter. Hey, look at that. Nice and easy. Alright, I'll get your drain pan right in the middle. I'll have to get a sample of this, send to Blackstone for analysis. You try to get this midstream to get your best oil analysis, okay? So that's what I'm going to try and do. Now right when I take this off, it's going to spout that way, and then it's going to taper off, alright? So, let's see here. Once again, you don't want this to be too crazy hot. You can see right here at the end of my fingernail, right here, see that guys? It's a crush washer. Make sure you replace that so you get a good seal. And you want to keep spinning this until you feel the thread skip, okay? Now we're dripping. We're dripping. There, I just felt it skip, and there we go. Okay, there we go. Put my drain plug up here. Alright, try to get this about midstream. Adjust that a little bit. And not yet, not yet. Here we go. About here. And got it. Yep, that's plenty. That's plenty. Alright, so a quick tip while you're draining oil out. Just open your dipstick and open your oil drain fill just a little bit. That allows air to go through, so it's a little faster for it to drain out. Okay, so now get your oil drain plug. Make sure you clean it off really well. Now remember, right here on this drain plug for Hondas, there's a little crush washer, okay? This crush washer is one-time use. So, you change oil, you have to replace the crush washer, okay? So, this old one right here is no good. I have to put a new one on. I'm going to clean all of this up right here. Alright, that's good enough. Now, get a new crush washer. Brand new crush washer. Just pop it on. That was easy. Fold a paper towel a few times. Okay, fold it. So you're down to about this. Now, well, you gotta dab that too. I had no idea how that got oil on it. Okay, now I'm gonna do that. Okay, let it soak a little bit. Then I'll put this right on. Okay, right there. Okay, it'll drop a little bit, that's okay. I'll tighten that up. Try to get all the oil off of this. Now remember, we have 17 millimeters. And let's crank it down. Not too tight. That's plenty tight. We're all done with the engine oil. Let's go to the transmission oil now. Transmission drain plug. Now it's a drive to get into this. It's not a bolt. Okay, so this is a 3/8 drive. Right there. To get in. Oh, did I do it? Got it. Now, all I'm gonna do, I'm gonna gently unscrew this. And as you can see, there's a crush washer here. Now we're changing transmission fluid. So since I didn't want it getting on all of the inside on this plastic here, and I don't want to take all of this off, just when I got a small funnel. Now I'm just gonna gently get this out, and it'll all come right down there. At least that's the plan. Let's see what happens. Once again, same thing when you're doing the engine oil. When you're doing the trans, just pop that just a little bit off the plunger. That'll just help it drain a little bit faster. Alright guys, so here's my old crush washer and my old plug. Got my new crush washer, same thing. Nice and easy. Off and on. Easy, right? Make sure I clean this. Now you have to be gentle because at the end of these transmission plugs, that's a magnet, okay? So all of the metal that comes off of the gears and any seals or bearings, well, seals are rubber, but it'll be collected right on here, okay? So you can touch that right when you take this off. I already wiped mine off, obviously, but if you see a bunch of metal specks on there, then that means it's doing its job. If you see like a slime, that could be bad, and you could have some possible damages with your transmission. So let's get this one back in. I've got my brand new crush washer on my plug. All I'm gonna do, pop that in. Don't cross thread it, go nice and easy. There we go. Nice and easy. Cool. Now all I have to do is tighten this back in. The exact torque spec, I'm not sure, but I'm just gonna get it a real good snug. Alright, that's good. Once again, this was a 3/8 drive. Alright, so right here is where I'm gonna put my oil back in. If you don't know what kind of oil your vehicle takes, it says right on the oil cap right there, SAE 0W20. Measure out the amount that you need from your owner's manual, pour it in. Alrighty, so remember battery's out. Now we have to refill the transmission. So I've got plenty of bottles of Honda transmission fluid here. According to the owner's manual, it takes 2.5 quarts, but just in case, I have some extra Dextron 6. Plug out, funnel in, and let's fill her up. Alright, so here's my dipstick. Could use a little bit more. Alright guys, so this being an older vehicle, and this is only the second time I've changed the transmission fluid. Change, not flush. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour in some of this 205 reseal. Now I've seen this work amazing things. It reconditions seals. Sometimes it'll help block leaks. Now the main seal, this being a transverse engine transmission right where they meet, I don't know the status of it, but this has 100,000 miles on it. I'm just going to go ahead and pour this in. I measured out a certain amount into my transmission bottle here after I poured it in. And this is a clear liquid. You'll see a little bit of red because the transmission fluid was red. Yep, see how that's a pinkish right there? And this reconditioned seals. We'll see if it helps. Alright, while we've got everything out, let's go ahead and replace the air filter. One clip here, 2 clips over here. Now you just wiggle it up and get it out. Okay, that's the old one, new one. Okay, I put it in just like that. Alright, and come on. Alright, There we go. Nice and easy. Pop those 3 clips back on. We're done. All right, for the cabin air filter on a 2012 Honda Civic. This is a girl car, so it's full of junk, right? Both hands, and you pinch inside right here. There you go. This little cartridge here. And here is your cabin air filter. It's a little tough to get this out sometimes. You gotta do is pinch it. There we go. Airflow which way? Airflow down. So here's our old one. I just replaced this 20,000 miles ago. And here is our new one. Cool. Put this little cover back on. And we're done with the cabin air filter. All you gotta do is pop this back in. You gotta pinch it in a little bit, just like that. All right, everybody, now it's time to bleed the brakes. So I've got plenty of DOT3 brake fluid. I'm going to bleed it with these. Probably only need this small bottle, but I'll start off with the big one. Now after you buy this, you should go ahead and try to do this as soon as possible, because this does not have a very long shelf life. Okay, I have the Honda Genuine that I'll mix in there at the very end, just because Hondas are particular on the fluids that you use. Engine oil, they don't really care as long as it's 0W20. First thing to do is to locate your brake master cylinder, aka your brake reservoir, depends on who you ask, and that's right here on this 2012 Civic. Okay, so I'm gonna pop this off. There's my lid. Now I also have to take this out. Okay, this is a little baby diaphragm to keep the seal. Okay, see? Now what I'm gonna have to do during this, I'm gonna have to make sure I top this off so I don't introduce air into the system from the little brake pickup down there. You can't see it, you have to take this off to find it, but it's down there in the lowest part of this little reservoir. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start bleeding the brakes. Okay everyone, so to start bleeding the brakes, you start with the brake caliper that is farthest away from the brake master cylinder, aka brake reservoir. So it is the passenger rear in this case. Okay, so if you're looking at the vehicle like this, here's your driver, here's your front passenger, here's your cylinder, right back here. Okay, right back here is the wheel we're on, passenger rear. So first thing you have to do, you have to locate the bleeder valve, and that'll be somewhere on your caliper. Here's caliper. On this Civic, it's located right here. Okay, so this little cover right here, that little rubber boot, just wiggle it, be gentle, you're gonna put it back on. There we go. See how that's all shiny? I'm gonna put this on the ground. To bleed it, there's many different methods. This is what I'm going to use. It's just a fancy gizmo I got from Lowe's. I'll include it in the description below. Basically, I'm just making a vacuum and it's sucking it into this little reservoir, and you'll be able to see the difference between the new and the old fluid. So I'll go ahead and unpackage this, hook it up, then we'll get going. Alright guys, I have my little gizmo put together. So basically, this little hand pump, I'm just going to make a vacuum. So if I cover this hole right here, you'll see it start to move on that gauge. See? Now, it's not super airtight, obviously, with that, but it's close enough. Now on this gauge, in inches of Hg, which is mercury, 29.92. That is a perfect vacuum, 29.92. So basically max out the gauge of 30. And there, I just killed the vacuum. That's the bleeder valve for the vacuum. Alright, all I have to do is put this onto the bleeder valve and spin that with a wrench to open that little seal. Okay, after I do that, then I can go ahead and start sucking out the old brake fluid. You guys remember from my previous videos on the lawn mowers, the little push mowers, I say never put a seal on dry. Okay, so I have a little O-ring here. It's going to make my seal. All I'm going to do is gently pull them out. Okay, now I'm just going to get a little bit of brake fluid on my finger, like that. Gonna dab it right here in that little cavity. Okay, now I'm gonna put my O-ring on. Get a little bit more in here. A little bit more in that little cavity. Okay. Go ahead and seat my O-ring. There we go. Now I'm going to get a little bit on top, just like that. Once I'm happy with that, I'm just going to put it right here. Now it's in. All I have to do is open this little valve right here. This is a 10 millimeter on this wrench. All I have to do is open him just a little bit. Nice and easy. Be gentle on these. And this has never been touched before. This is at about 100,000 miles now. So remember, be gentle. Got it? Okay, nice and easy. Nice and easy. Nice and easy. Oh, you can see it right there. Okay, so now, all I'm going to do with my little gizmo, I'm just going to make my little vacuum. And here we go. You can see it. Double check, make sure I got a good seal on it right there. A lot of air bubbles, a lot of air bubbles. Now remember, while you are bleeding out the brake fluid, you're lowering in the brake reservoir. So make sure you take your bottle of brand new brake fluid. Make sure it's good and full, okay? See how it's recessing in? We'll leave it at that and keep pumping. Hey guys, so it's a little tougher to see while you're here at the little catch for the brake fluid. If you look right at that bleeder valve, you'll see how it's almost clear, right? I know there's still bubbles in it, but right when I seal that off, I'm going to be real gentle on my 10 millimeter wrench here. Let's start closing that off. Look at that. See how clear that is? That is new brake fluid that we pumped in, sucking from the brake master cylinder. Now I'm going to gently bleed a little bit more out until I'm perfect. Take a look at that fluid. That look clear to you guys? I think that looks pretty clear to me. So I'm going to take my 10 millimeter and I'm going to spin this, if I can get a good bite. Alright, I'm going to spin this clockwise, just like that. Nice and tight, so this won't come off when I'm going to Costco tomorrow or later tonight. That's good. And look at that. I'm going to gently wiggle this off and try to keep it pointed up so it doesn't go down. Just like that. And in my little catch, you can see that it's a lot lighter. That boot we took off right when we started. See that shiny fitting right there? Once again, make sure that is really tight. Take that boot, let's plop her back on. Head to the next wheel. So now we are at the driver's side rear. Right here is that same boot. Wiggle it off. There's that shiny fitting. Make sure you don't lose this. Rinse and repeat. Here we go. And remember, keep refilling, keep refilling, keep refilling. Good brake fluid is clear. Bad brake fluid looks pretty brown and dirty. Alright, we just finished the driver's side rear. Remember that little boot? Go ahead and get the wrench off. Little boot back on that shiny machine surface. Alright, let's head to the passenger front. Quick tip, while you have the tube on the bleeder valve, it is right here. Can't see it from that hose. Right there, okay? I'm going to wiggle that off. Okay, see? Keep your boot. Now something you can do you can hold your wrench on just like this. Okay, you can leave that, and then go ahead and put your hose on. I'll move it just like that. Okay. So I'm gonna wiggle my little tube on to my vacuum gizmo. For sure that's all in. Now, nope, there we go. Now just be really gentle. See, you can't lose it. Make sure that's still fully seated. Okay, make sure it's seated. And same thing, just wiggle it off. Just wiggle to open the bleeder valve. Okay, and we have bubbles. We have bubbles. All right. Let's keep going. So we have the front passenger all done. Remember, always put your boot back on. Your little bleeder valve right there. Okay, now let's do the driver front, then we'll all be done. Alright, so we're on the driver's side front, the very last one. Here is our little brake bleeder. Wiggle off that little boot from the little mushroom. Geez, this one's tough. Okay, got it. Same trick. Get my wrench on. Go ahead and get my tube. Let's get to pumping. Double check your bleeder valves. When you're done getting all the air out of them, double check and make sure they are super snug, alright? Because you definitely don't want your brakes going out on you. Once again, remember your little boot. Go ahead, put this back on when you're done. Okay? There we go. So, I just got done changing the engine oil and filter on my wife's Civic, but what I also did is I changed the transmission fluid. Now the vehicle doesn't know this, right? So right here on this little screen, when I go to on, it's going to say this little warning. Yep, hey, you gotta do that. Well, I just did it. So let's reset it. And we're going to use the left side of the steering wheel here. So information, menu, up, down, that's your enter, okay? So we go right back to the screen, and my wife's phone's disconnected. Oh darn. Okay, service is due. Going to menu, vehicle information, maintenance info, reset, yes. Hold it, and it's been reset. Now we go back to the beginning, okay? And I'm just going to go, come on. Now when I turn the key, I go back to here. Look at that, everything's gone. Well, I hope you guys liked that. It kind of tapered off a bit at the end. I filmed that, I kid you not, probably 2.5 years ago. And a lot of this happened in my life since then. I've moved, became a parent, other vehicles, things like that. This is probably my biggest change. There's a lot more coming, but yeah, Super Guy Garage underway. Booyah. Of course, guys, remember, if you like the videos, comment down below any questions you have, or what I did, when I did it, or why I did it. Also, subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, be super today.